If someone had shown me this at 18, I would have been 5 years ahead. Most people waste years slowly building credit the wrong way, taking on unnecessary debt, crappy loan terms, and waiting around for limit increases that don't actually come. Think of this like a Disney Fast Pass for your credit, except you're not paying triple what everyone else is to get on the ride. You're actually spending less. Here's how. So to start off, why the conventional path takes years. Everyone tells you to go ahead and open up a secured card, whether it's a self card, a Discover. You wait usually over a year to get a credit limit increase, and normally you're still under $1,000 with that, and you repeat this process for 2-3 years, and it still doesn't match up with someone with decent limits on their report. The strategy I'm going into today, on the other hand, can take as little as 2 months. Usually you can get this done in 2 months if you're on top of it, and it uses a product that you've probably even never heard of called a pledge loan, but we'll get into that in a second. So to give you some context, what is Navy Federal? Navy Federal is a credit union, which is similar to a bank, but credit unions are more invested in their customers compared to banks that are about appeasing their stockholders. Credit unions like making sure that their customers are happy. And Navy Federal in particular is more focused on veterans, active military, relatives of active military, etc. So typically to get in, you need to qualify in one of those tiers. But there's also another way. If you get referred in, that's a great way to get inside of the bank. And there's lots of ways you can get referred in, whether you know someone, you live with someone who's a member, or even if you have a relative who's in the military, you can use that as well. And why Navy Federal specifically is they don't look at your credit as hard as these banks do. They're looking more at your relationship with them. And the strategies we go over today are essentially going to be ways to boost up that relationship faster than it would otherwise normally take. Think about in a video game, you've got a companion, you're trying to make sure that they have a good relationship with you, and you're just hitting all the nice dialogue options. That's basically what we're doing. So first, you want to go ahead and open up a Navy Federal savings account. If you've got one near you, just go ahead and go in the branch. If you don't, the best way to do it is over the phone. Everywhere I've lived, it's always like 45 minutes away from Navy Federal, so I would just call them. It's easier to do it that way. And make sure you open the savings account. You can open a checking account and all that other stuff too, but you need to have the savings account. And once you have the savings account, deposit whatever you would like to put in there. Ideally, for this pledge loan that we're about to get into, again, we're trying to build a relationship with them. So if you show them that you have money and you're willing to put money in your savings account with them, that's going to just bump up that relationship. So as much money you can put aside for this process, the better. So next, we're going to call them after we've gotten that account. We maybe wait a day or two. We call them and we want to open up a pledge loan. And what a pledge loan is essentially, think about a secured card, right? You have a secured credit card where you put the money down and then they let you spend that limit on the card. Well, think of it as a secured loan. So you're putting this money in your savings account, right? And they're putting it away, and it's still your money. It's still accruing interest, but they lock that away, and then they give you that same amount back. So if you put $10,000 up into a pledge loan, they will give you $10,000. And from there, it's just, you would pay them back on whatever terms you choose. And here I will show you their official terms on how the pledge loan works. So you can read through all of this if you'd like. You could pause the video. But the key points are you can choose how long the term is, from a few months to up to 7 years. I would recommend you go ahead and open one that's at least 2 years long, because one of the important factors with credit is making sure that you have accounts with history. And if you choose a really short 3 to 6 month loan, you're not going to have as much history as you would from a 2, 5, 6, 7 year loan. So go ahead and choose one of those longer options. And then from there, you can choose how much you'd like to put up. A massive thing with credit is comparable credit. So if other banks are seeing that Navy Federal is lending you $10,000, $15,000, that's going to look a lot better than if you do $500 with the pledge loan. So I would recommend putting in more if possible, especially if you're trying to go with higher limits. But just doing this at all is better than not doing it. So we get that pledge loan. They've given that money to us. What do we do now? The key move, let's make sure that account reports that it's showing that, okay, this is a new account. They just loaned you the money. We wait a week or two for it to report. And then now we pay off 90% of that loan. That's going to look amazing to the credit bureaus because, wow, Navy Federal just gave you $10,000 and you already paid off 90% of it. That's going to look great on your credit. And not only that, that's going to bump up your relationship with Navy Federal as well. You'll get your $9,000 back if you put in $10,000, and then from there you can just set up a tiny auto payment on the remaining balance. So let's say you got a 4-year loan. Instead of just paying off that whole thing and it's gone already, now you have that remaining 10% getting paid off in small increments each month so that it keeps reporting and it just looks better and better as time progresses. And of course, I'm sure you've seen a graph similar to this. These are the factors that are important to the bureaus and the banks when it comes to lending you. This pledge helps with your payment history. It helps with how much you owe because, oh, wow, you paid off 90% of your loan. You don't owe as much as most people do. And it also adds a credit mix. If you only have credit cards or only have secured cards up until this point, you've never gotten a car loan or a mortgage or anything like that, this helps a ton without having to take on unnecessary debt or just get a loan for getting a loan. And moving forward with that, there's another layer to it that my clients use often. So if you're not familiar already, there's a thing called an authorized user. So if I have a $20,000 Navy Federal card and I put you on that card as my authorized user, even though I don't give you the card, even though you've never gotten the card, it's still going to report on your credit limit and it's going to report favorably because I'm making sure that I'm not spending on it. If you combine that with the pledge loan process, you've paid off that 90% of the pledge loan and you have this authorized user card, their algorithm in Navy Federal is going to see that you are super trustworthy, you are super reliable. In their mind, you have an 800 credit score, even if you're in the mid 600s still. You can go ahead and apply for that same card, and I would say 8 or 9 times out of 10, my clients get the same limit that I do on that card. If I have a $20,000 card and I put them on that $20,000 card and they apply for a new $20,000 card in their name, they get that same limit. Sometimes it might be $15,000 if they have really new credit, but regardless, this does wonders for their credit because a big element is, again, comparable credit. If Chase sees that you have a $20,000 limit with Navy Federal, they're not going to give you a $1,000 limit. They're going to give you maybe $5,000 or $10,000 because they see other banks want to lend you money and they'll do the same thing for you. And overall, this is going to catapult your credit into a good standing much faster than just waiting the traditional way. And this will get you prepared for taking advantage of the best benefits from credit, whether it's insane travel bonuses or 0% interest or massive business funding limits. And as you can see here, we've got a bit of a timeline on how the process generally goes. Typically, this takes 2 months. If you're a little bit slower through the process, it could take a little bit longer, but you can realistically get all this done in 2 months. And if you have just decent credit, this will get you into good or excellent. I've seen it many other times that be the case. So yeah, as I mentioned before, this is a great place for your credit. And some of you guys might be asking, what do I do with the credit after what do I do with good credit, you know? And that's something I go over in my previous videos, and I'll go over it in new videos as well. There's a lot of different strategies that you can make the most out of with having good credit that I wish I knew when I was 18, 20 years old. Subscribe if this stuff interests you, because I know it interests me. And if you're a business owner or you're starting a business and you need capital, you need to scale. Something we help our clients with is setting them up with 0% interest credit cards. If that's something you're interested in, check out the link in the bio for some more info.